All right.
So we're live.
Yay.
Great. So I suggest we just jump straight in. So you were talking about TVC, right? That's the thing
Yeah,
you.
it's TVZ that's giving me the most problems,
Okay.
but I feel like I'm not a good player. General.
Well,
So,
that's like a relative term, right? So that really depends, like what your goal is, and also like who you're measuring yourself to, right? I mean, I'm also terrible. If you measure me to like the pros, shit, I'm far from being a pro, right, man? Um, but yeah, so TVC. Let's have a look at your statistics real quick. So seems like we're all. Actually, it says that TVC is your best matchup. So you might be
is it?
not
Doesn't
this.
feel that way at all.
Yeah, not this season, but
Ah, okay.
overall. But it's not 54% this season. That's not too bad. But yeah, but if you feel like you're not comfortable, that's I can totally understand that because I had a similar thing with TVP a while back where I was doing really good when I actually was playing it, but I didn't feel comfortable at all. I totally understand that. But from your statistics, it says that your TVP is your worst matchup by actually
That's
quite a bit.
interesting.
So, but let's focus on TVC since that's what
All
you
right.
wanted to do. So if you could uh, find me that replay, could
On it, I'm currently looking for the exact replay.
just fire it up when you find it. We'll take a look. So what do you usually do in this matchup? Do you have a usual build you do?
Yeah, and I'm using a general build order. I'm going like 2-1-1 with
Okay.
a terrible drop timing.
Okay. No, I mean it's an okay build, especially like
No, it
it's
really is terrible. I'm usually going out 30 seconds late. Like, just
it's not too bad. I
yesterday.
mean,
Is it?
well, I mean you should try to shave that down. Maybe you're doing something wrong. We can have a look at that.
Yeah, I actually found the mistake. I've been taking gas way too late.
Oh yeah,
That's great.
yeah, that's
Where's the
probably a
fucking
thing.
replay?
Should have renamed it or something, man.
Yeah,
It can't be
hindsight's
too old, just so
2020.
you know. We had a patch pretty recently, so
No, it was just before I messaged you,
okay. Well,
so
no,
it
no,
shouldn't be that old.
no, that should
That
be
was
fine.
that was yesterday, wasn't it?
I mean, how many games have you played since then? You can't be.
Not much. That's why it's so weird I can't find it.
Make sure you scroll up as well, 'cause sometimes you're not.
I think I got it.
Okay, nice. Just watch with others, and then you make me host in the lobby when we're in there, and then we
Just wanna
jump
make
into it.
sure. Was the one I got stunned? Yes. Yeah, that's the one. Sure.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so if you make me host, so I can actually control it. Nice.
Of course.
Okay, so let's see. We could do an alternate build if you want. If you don't like this one is interesting. The 2-on-1 is a really good build for practicing mechanics because it's pretty like actually like it requires quite a bit of APM and stuff like this, and it's like if you can master this build, you can really do anything, which is quite nice.
Well, that sounds great.
Yeah. But I will say right now, it's not maybe the best in the current meta, but as a way to practice, it's amazing. Okay, so yeah, so the first guess is fine.
Yeah, it's
Probably the
I've
second
noticed.
gas.
Yeah, when I was looking at the build order again, I noticed I was taking the second gas right on time with the factory when it should have been way earlier. That's what's been messing with my timing for
Okay,
the
a small
restart
thing
part.
here too. The orbital should be started on 19, not 18. So you missed an SCV somewhere in there.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
always
always
done it
19.
on 18, to be honest.
Always 19.
All right.
Command center upgrade complete.
Okay, yeah, double. And then I think it's here. I haven't done this build in a while, but I think it's here you start the gas and then the second depot.
Yeah.
So it should be about now.
Add-on complete.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so the gas should be before the second depot, ideally. I think. Or maybe it's depot
Or
then
something
gas.
around that time, yeah. But not that light. Like I'm doing.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a bit late. That's for sure. Yes, a constant marine production. And then this is something you need to have a look at. This is huge. Your SUV production is already messing up, right? There should be constant SUV production at this point. There is some points in this build where you have like 1 or 2 seconds where you aren't building SUVs, but you have, I think you've messed up. I think you have had like 15 seconds or something like that where SUVs haven't been building. So have a look at that because constant SUV production is pretty much the most important thing. Set yourself back so much by not doing it.
Especially against Stark.
Like in any matchup, really. Yeah, so yeah,
Add-on complete.
yeah, so you haven't hotkeyed your barracks either, which is kind of bad.
Oh, I do. It's on 8.
Command center upgrade
Haven't.
complete.
I don't see it.
Hmm.
You've only hotkeyed your command centers thus far.
No, I definitely have the barracks hotkeyed, yeah.
I can't see it. I just see
That's
CCs.
weird.
I see CCs on 1, and then you have an SCV hotkeyed on 2. That's all I'm seeing.
Add-on complete.
Okay, yeah, so that's okay. Like, yeah, it's kind of messy. Like, there's a few things here and there, like SUV
Yeah.
production and the gas. But you just need to tighten that up quite a bit. Yeah, but good getting the wall. That's a good thing. So that's definitely something people might be. Well,
Our SCVs are under attack.
okay. Yeah, so I would be adding the double eBay at this point. Pretty much as soon as you can afford it here, I usually add it on. Usually, so this is a good trick. You can wall in almost any natural choke with 2 depots and 2 engineering bay. So that's a pretty cool trick. Or
Is it worth it to use the eBay as a wall though? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
way out in the front.
yeah. No, it absolutely is. It has way more health than a depot. It leaves the wall much like they snipe it. That's kind of annoying, but it's not really worth for them to run banelings into your eBays. Like if they do that already, they've already sacrificed too much. Because the eBay has, I mean, how much health does an eBay have? I'm pretty sure it's a lot. It's a lot more than a depot. So I don't think it's actually worth it to snipe an eBay with banelings. And I mean, links are never gonna snipe it, so. Could you go straight into tanks there? Yes, an eBay has like double the health of a supply depot. So now it's definitely worth it.
Ready for dust off.
But your eBay timing is not too bad. nonetheless. That's the problem with this build, right?
Yeah.
One micro mistake and you lose all your marines. So now you're in a pretty bad spot already. Now, I probably wouldn't start my third application if I just lost 16 marines. I mean, if he decides to just attack that with his forces, there will be no way for you to save it. You're gonna have to cancel it.
Depleted.
So that's quite a big risk you're taking there.
Research complete.
That tech lab is interesting on your factory. Where have you
Yeah, it is. I
where-
usually go against siege tanks against Zerg, but that didn't work out well for me against Massling Bane. That's why I built 2 Widows out of it to protect myself a bit, at least.
I mean, defensively tanks should be fine. The problem is attacking, right? Into Lingbane with tanks. So I'm not really sure. I mean, either you go. I mean, it's weird that you build a tech lab and then build mines. Like either you go mines or you go tanks. It's usually the philosophy. So if you want to go mines, that's fine, but then you should have a reactor, right? You can pump 2 at a time. I think this middle of the road strategy is pretty bad.
Yeah,
Upgrade.
totally get what you're saying.
Mineral field depleted.
If you can transfer some SUVs, yeah, you do. That's fine. So lives in nice upgrade timings.
Command center.
So that's something you're doing very well. The upgrade timings. This is really on point. Production now. So this push is odd. I don't know. Like in any reasonable universe, this push shouldn't be doing anything because
And it doesn't.
no. Oh, if you get a sniper here. So here you should really pre-split. Here you need to pre-split. You're just running with your marines in a clump, and that's really bad. Because like I'm sure you don't have the micro to just split reactionary. You're gonna have to pre-split a bit. Right, so running with them in a clump like this is bad. So what you do when you attack into a Zerg is that you set up outside the creep with your tanks and whatever mines or whatever you have. Then you take a few marines forward, run forward and clear the creep, and try to lure his Zerglings into you. And if he doesn't respond, you just slowly move forward, right? So you send a few marines forward. You never send all your marines forward. This is really dangerous. If he has Baneling speed now and he rolls forward, you're gonna be in a ton of hurt.
Additional supply.
So you really never want to engage an army on creep like this, right?
Additional supply depot. Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, so it's the usual Hydraling Bane bullshit. Yeah. So from this point you've lost 2 armies. Your economy is doing pretty well. Your macro could be doing a bit better.
Upgrade complete.
Don't have any add-ons on this barracks, and your base layout is sort of messy. This is something you can clean up a bit too. So your barracks are you just throw your buildings all over the place. Like it doesn't really seem like. So what you usually should think about is like these 2 supply posts on the left-hand side of your base are sort of odd. I usually shove all of my supply depots on one side of my base because you have one supply depot here, like one here. The 2 at the back of your, the ones at the back of your natural are not too bad, although they could be closer together. But that's no big deal. But really, like if you look at your barracks placements, like they're all over the place. Usually, you want to arrange them in rows, right? So you have rows of them down, and then you can make another row, and then you leave a 1 square gap between them, and that's with the add-on taken into
So like
account.
3 spaces.
So yeah, that would be 3 spaces. Yeah, then everything can still get out, right? So that's something you can think about a bit. That's not a huge deal, but you are like running out of space in your base already. Yeah, so
Mineral field depleted.
Here come the Banelings.
Mineral field depleted. Additional supply depots required.
Yeah, no, so you don't do any splitting, right?
Yeah,
No, you just
at all.
stutter step, which almost works, but not really.
Mineral field
Um,
depleted.
Stutter step is like the extent of my micro abilities.
Upgrade complete.
okay, well, yeah. So splitting is hard, but it's not as hard as people make it out to be if you're smart about how you're doing it.
Ready for dust off.
A lot, like if you can pre-split, that's and you like that. You don't have to be very quick about it. Just split out a few groups of Marines beforehand.
Mineral field depleted.
Because reactionary splitting is really hard. That takes some time
Ready for
learning.
dust off.
Add-on.
But yeah, I mean, this game is lost
Mineral field depleted.
already. But I mean, I gotta applaud you on your upgrades. They're really good. That's something you really have down. But I mean, the general ideas here are fine. Like your macro is okay, your unit comp is okay, your upgrades are okay. Like the thing we really have to focus on is taking good engagements, right? Because you've just thrown two armies away, right? That's the
Mhm.
biggest problem here, really. Which usually isn't
Upgrade complete.
the thing I would expect.
Base is under attack.
I think this was the game I got so salty I didn't even GG. I let him
Oh no,
finish off all my
that
buildings.
that happens.
No, it's like lost at 16 and the rest of the 4 minutes is him finishing my bases. That was goddamn.
I mean, you already have 3-3. That's great. However, he should be on ultras already. I haven't had a
Ultras are
look.
what
But,
finished me, I think.
yeah. He has a greater spot on the way. Yeah, he's like you've done no real economic damage to him.
That's most of my games kinda like I told you, I'm not good at applying pressure, which includes economic damage.
Yeah, no. I mean, dropping is just like I don't know, like how yeah, like, you just drop a bit here and there, right? Here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere.
Just like, yeah, I got a drop now, so I send one in, and that's it. Yeah, it then drops.
Yeah, no. I mean, when you reach like mid and high diamond, like you really have to drop two places at once if you hope to do any damage. Oh, going for the base trade.
Is under
Yeah.
attack.
It's actually very similar to my playstyle. I usually do this a lot too. But this is kind of like you don't have the tools to deal with ultras. You really don't have like you need a fuck ton of liberators at this point. Yeah, and you have Vipers as well. Well, okay.
Your forces are under attack.
Okay, yeah, this is a slow and painful death. Okay, yeah, let's check the next go out of this. It's fine. So yeah, really, the thing we have to work on is engagements and when to take engagements and when to put pressure, because you really just lost two armies and already there you're in really bad shape. Like anything you do from that point is pretty much like unless you pull a miracle, I don't really see how you would win from there. So either what we could do is find a build that's much easier to execute than 2-on-1 because the 2-on-1 is actually really hard to execute. Not only to do the build properly, but then to micro your marines, right, and actually get the value you need out of them. But like yeah, so besides that, I mean, early on you messed up your SUV production, which is one thing. You took your gas too late, which is a build-specific thing, but the SUV production is really something that will carry over to all matchups and any build you do, right? So that's the first thing you're gonna wanna shore up because that's pretty much gonna influence everything else. But besides that, so do you feel like you wanna keep trying the 2-on-1, or would you like an easier build to execute?
Well, honestly, I'd opt for the 2-on-1, but mostly because I already know the basic gist of the build order, so
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't have to
that's
learn a
fine. That's
completely
fine.
new one.
It's completely fine. It's the other small problem with it is that it's very TVC specific. Like, it doesn't work in the other two modes. Well, it can work in TVP, but in TVT it's trash. So that's the other problem with it. But we can actually literally do it. It's no problem. It's It works
Well,
fine.
maybe I should learn how to build all of them because that's the build order I do for all matchups.
Oh yeah, that's a problem. That's a,
Like that's a single build order I know in StarCraft.
okay. Then maybe we should have a look at some others because it's it's a really inflexible build. Honestly, that's why I opted out of it after a while because I used to do it a lot, but I opted out of it because I realized that well you're really forced into just making Marines. Like you have no options really. Like your tick is much slower. You don't have enough gas to work with. Like as opposed to a 1-1-1 build where you can do pretty much anything. Right, and especially in TVT, it's like really bad. Like, sure, you can maybe win some games with it if you catch them off guard, but it translates terrible into the mid game unless you've done a lot of damage. And the very early game, it's also really bad because cyclones and hellions and stuff like that will be really annoying to deal with unless you build a bunker or something. And even then, you probably don't want to do that. Uh, so since we're doing TVC, I guess we could just shore up the 2-on-1 and go from there. So if you can make me party leader.
Okay, sure.
Could
Wait, why
have
am I the party leader? Didn't even notice.
well, I have to for you to launch the replay. So let's look at the 2-on-1, right, real quick. Oh, me showing it isn't really gonna cut it. Like I haven't done it, so I don't really have a replay. That's the problem. I think having a look at actual engagement is probably the best thing we can do. Because that's your biggest problem right now. It's not actually the build. Like the build, I think you know what you did wrong in the build, right? Just
Yeah,
the
taking
SCV
gas
production, you can shore that up yourself. But what we really need to have a look at is those engagement because you lost your first Marines. And stuff like that. So let's have a look at the unit test here. Let's see what we can do. So the first thing we're gonna have a look at is pre-splitting, and engaging on creep. So let's see what we can do. Let's get a field. So let's set up like a realistic, like mid-game scenario, right? Maybe you have 1-1 combat shield. Let's say he has 1-1. He has circling speed, beginning speed, yeah. And then we just make some circling, some banning, some marines, some medivacs, right? Something like this, maybe.
Nice.
So, wait, how do I add creep? That's the other thing we want to have a look at, right? Well, okay, no, I know how to do it. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so let's say we have. Oh, that's the wrong color. Oops. Also, I'm not controlling everything, which I really should be. So let's make sure I control everything, and I'm jumping in. Let's have a look at. Let's have a look at pushing into creep, right?
Yeah.
And what that can look like. So, oh, also I should give you some tanks.
That's very generous of you.
Yeah, I just realized. So let's do this again because this is more realistic mid game. Then we also need. No, we don't need any tank upgrades. Most likely not gonna have them. But then we need to give them a lot more stuff, right? Yeah, Actually, too few, I think. Okay, nice. Okay, nice.
How am I supposed to win this?
Well, I'm. Okay, I don't know. This might not be very realistic, but I'm just gonna show you. Just gonna show. I think this might be not very. I didn't balance it out perfectly, probably. But we're just gonna have a look at pushing into creep. Okay,
Okay.
that's the main point here. Don't look too closely at the specifics. Now, let's say you have this sort of setup, right? And here we come, and there's like creep. Oh my god, what am I supposed to do? So what you kind of did now is like you did this, right? And then you're like YOLO'd in here and start like scanning, cleaning up creep, and then he just comes like this and like, oh my god. See, how that's not very good, right? So ideally, oh my god. Okay, let's say. So what you actually do? I don't know how to make the creep stay. I think you can save like the states or something. I'm not sure. So what you're actually supposed to do is, honestly, we need more marines. This is terrible. That's way too few marines. Yeah, let's hold like this. Here we go. It looks a lot more. Let's say this creep. So what you do is you siege your tanks, right? Try to spread them out a bit. Then you pre-split. So we're just gonna send the marines around a bit. Like this. Like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then you take a few marines, stim forward and start clearing creep, right? And then when he comes, you run back, right? And he runs into this. Usually will turn around, right? But usually you should get a few tank volleys off. Right, but then you keep going back, clearing creep, and then you like slowly push forward, right? Keep the split. Then when it comes like this, you split. Right, something like that. Then the rest of his things comes in. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so that was terrible. But the general idea is you set up outside the creep, you pre-split, you send a few marines forward to clear creep, and try to lure him into your tank. If he doesn't come, that's fine. You just reach up, move forward, and clear more creep, right? And if you can, you drop behind it. You have a drop going somewhere else, so he's really confused. Or you want to just pull attention. So maybe he just runs in with all the shit into your tank. Yeah. So, but also what you want to do is you want to clear creep with the initial 2-1-1, right? So his creep is not like at your base when you start pushing, because then you're never gonna win. So you want to try to not engage the Zergon creep. That's what I'm trying to say. So maybe what we want to have a look at, the best way we could probably do this is if you play me, probably my Zerg.
Oh boy.
Because I don't think I have any Zerg friends on at the moment. No. So I haven't played Zerg in a while, but should be fine. I was Diamond 2 seasons ago with Zerg. Well, let's do something. Let's do Odyssey. So let's just try to do this. So I'm gonna know what you're doing, but honestly, most people know what you're doing because it's the 2-on-1. It doesn't matter. It's out of like the meta, but people still know how to react to it. It's pretty insane. Now let's see if I remember how to play Surge. It's gonna be interesting.
We require more minerals. We require more minerals. We require more minerals. Spawn more over field depleted. A creep tumor is under attack. We require more Vespine gas. Our forces are under attack. Metamorphosis complete. Metamorphosis complete.
Wow. My rust with Zerg really shows. Wow.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. Spawn more overlords. Mineral spawn more overlords. The hive cluster is under attack. Mineral field spawn. A creep tumor is under attack. Mineral field depleted. Unacceptable command. Unacceptable. Mutation complete. Unacceptable command. Unacceptable command. Our forces are under attack. Complete. Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. field depleted. Mineral field. Vesting geyser exhausted. Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply. Mutation complete. Unacceptable command. Maximum supply. The hive cluster is under attack. Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under attack. Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply. Our forces are under attack. Mineral field. Unacceptable command. The hive cluster is under attack. Metamorphosis complete. Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted. Mutation complete. Unacceptable command. Maximum supply. Mineral field depleted.
GG.
GG. Yeah, so it was probably not very interesting to watch, but it was important. So that was a lot better, even though it might not seem like it.
Well,
So
I held out 70 minutes.
yeah, but then my ultras came. So the main thing there was again you throw away your first 60 marines. You did some damage, but it wasn't worth. Like if you like you dropped up there and got some drones, and then I transferred. You should have left after that. That was good enough. You should have gone back, cleaned some creep, and then gone home. You don't, those 60 marines are not sacrificial. It feels like you think they are, sort of.
I'm sorry, you were cut off. What did you say?
Oh, it feels like you're treating the first 60 marines as they were sacrificial, like you can just throw them away.
Okay, yeah. Like,
But they aren't.
they're my whole army, yeah.
No,
Get what
you
you're
can't.
saying.
You can't. You have to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Right, so what you did there, you dropped my main, right? You got some drones, but then you kept going, even though there was really no hope of you getting any more damage.
Yeah, I tried to get your Baneling building. Because fuck Banelings.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. It wouldn't have done that much, but yeah, that's okay. And you got some drones, right? But after that, you should have left, right? If you get what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
So again, you sort of threw those units away, and then later in the game, you actually played pretty well. I feel like the first push you did. Actually, we just can just jump into the replay. Take a look. So I feel like the first push you did was better than before. It was a bit conservative, maybe, and you didn't clear my creep really. You just sat behind the bushes and. So when I say you should try not to engage on creep, I mean you should try not, but sometimes you sort of have to. So let's have a look at that, at this game as a whole again. So yeah, Reaper, so far so good. So yeah, it's good not mitering your Reaper too much if you feel like you can. I have no problem with that. So let's look at you. No one looking at me.
Command center upgrade complete.
SCV ready. Who wants some? SCV ready.
Add-on complete.
So yeah, did you do it correctly this time? I think so. Do you feel like you messed? Did you mess the initial build-up? Or
SCV ready.
looks okay.
It felt right, but I still think I did something wrong. No, actually, I was a few seconds late. The medevac came out 10 seconds too late.
Yeah, but this is okay. Yeah, you have a too few minutes now, right? No, this is okay. This is not too bad. You can clean it up a bit more, but
Research.
for now, that's just something you're gonna have to like polish up a bit. But it's no big deal. You see flyer. So usually, I'm gonna talk about this, but usually you don't drop these marines inside the main base. I don't know if you know this, but usually you don't.
I haven't actually.
So usually you drop them outside their third. So the usual third on this map is.
That's why you had all of them on your third.
Yeah. So I was a bit taken aback, but again, it did like.
This better be good.
Yes, I wasn't ready for this, right?
See, that's why I did this.
I mean, yeah, I can't really fault that logic, but I can just pull my drones. There's the problem, right? So immediately, when the links arrive behind my first base, you should pick up and leave. What I would have done is go back, try to clear some creep, maybe outside my third, and then leave. But this is never gonna do anything. You see my queens, like you're just gonna lose these medevacs, and you really can't afford to lose these units. So now all of the damage you did, I've sort of gained back. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You've already
I'm
lost the
looking at the
advantage.
units lost step.
Ready for
So
dust off.
take what you can and then leave. Don't
Ready
overextend.
for dust off.
SCV ready.
Oddly, I feel like you did the wrong thing. Like you did the opposite in the next engagement. We're gonna have a look at that as well.
Mineral.
So I mean, your macro is pretty good, right? I can't really fault you. Upgrade's good again.
Well, that's something.
Ready for dust off.
I get burrow for some fucking reason. Yeah, so macro is good, upgrades are good. So here you see the creep. So yeah, so you're doing exactly what I said. Like pre-split, siege the tank, start clearing creep.
Upgrade.
Right. So far so good. But you really want to see my army, right? That's the thing you want to see. Right? Because the problem here is I could have come around like and hit you from behind or from the side. There's a billion ways I could have come from. Honestly, I could have come down from the ramp, like leading up from like down to the pool, and then attacked you from behind, or attacked you from the other side of this rock, right? So you really want to see where my army is. It's really important, and you really have no idea. Now you've seen it, but it's a bit late, honestly. You want to see that a bit earlier, if you can. There you go. So you're macroing right now, I'm guessing. Not really.
Additional supply depots required.
SCV ready.
Additional supply depots required.
Okay, so a bit of a supply block there.
You could have totally crushed the tank line there.
Add-ons
I
complete.
think so, yeah. So here you should probably pull back, right? I mean, you're vastly outsupplying me, right? You have way more supply than I do.
Ready for dust off.
Mineral
Yeah, but you're a
field
Zerg though.
depleted.
Well, the Zerg army is weaker than the Terran army until they have Ultra. Until they have Hive, the Zerg army is weaker than the Terran army. By quite a bit.
Still, with all those banelings, I think you would have totally
Yeah, but
crushed
if you
the whole army.
pre-split, it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, so this is really good, right? This is really good.
Mineral field depleted.
Okay, and then you capitalize and clean creep. This is exactly what you should do. Pull the attention and then do something somewhere else. But it's a bit too weak, right? It's a bit too weak for so I just crush it.
Reporting for action.
So you're a bit conservative here.
Mineral field depleted.
So you're playing this all the wrong way around. I feel like you're really aggressive with your first unit, and then you chicken out. Right? This is the point where Terran needs to do damage, because if you were actually against a good Zerg player, he would have had ultras by now. No doubt about it.
Damn.
And I'm terrible. That's why I don't have ultras. I'm just starting my
Luckily, I'm only plat.
yeah. So this is the point in the game you really want to do damage, right? And with your upgrades, it should be easy for you to punish me. I don't even have 1-1 yet. So. This force of yours should be really scary. You're maxed out. Where's your army? Like, if I were you right now, I'd just grab my entire army and just push.
Command center upgrade complete.
Then I catch you out on the map. So that's quite bad.
Mineral field.
Yeah. I almost get a little bit triggered myself seeing that, even though it was me too.
Mineral field
yeah.
depleted.
So that's quite bad because you didn't split again. Still just
Mineral field
there you
depleted.
almost need to split, right? Because your screen was there, so you could have tried to do it.
Armed and ready.
So how many barracks are you on right now? 6 barracks, 2 factories.
Yeah, 6 barracks.
Yeah, that's not enough. You need to be at like 8 or 9. So a few more barracks when you hit this stage of the game. After you hit 3 base, basically. So honestly, I usually never say this, but honestly, your problem is your micro.
How do you usually have to say this?
Because I hate people shouldn't focus on micro like too much before they're in a higher league, but it's really punishing for you. It's the way you're taking engagements and
Upgrade complete.
because I mean with the upgrades and the macro you have, that should be able to beat a diamond player.
Should be.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. You hit almost as strong a timing as me, but then when the push actually
Mineral
hits, this
field
is
depleted.
nothing. So, yeah, at this point you're pretty dead. Even though you have a great economy, but this is how this matchup works, right? Unless you have a shit ton of Liberators and Ghosts, at this point you're pretty dead.
Mineral field depleted.
Your unit comp is not what it needs to be at this point in the game. At all. Now, I wouldn't advise taking a game this long. I would try to end it before this point, but
Usually if games end before this point, it's my loss.
Forces are under attack.
yeah, that's really odd because... Yeah, and again, you split up your army, right? You leave your tanks there for no real reason. I just A-move. Okay. Yeah, and then the ultras come and you die. So let's not watch that. So maybe we can have a look at one of my TVCs and see the difference in those mid games pushes to figure out what the actual problem is. I think that would be one of the best things we could do. In this one, I pretty much win with a push, so that's not very interesting. Where's that one? Okay, let's do this one. Okay, so I think the timing I hit here is actually weaker than yours. I have a smaller army with worse upgrades yet, and my opponent is stronger. Yet somehow I win. So let's have a look at why
Marine
that might
King.
be. Yeah, because like it doesn't make sense to me. Like this doesn't make sense to me. You should crush Platinum Sarks with such a strong timing, but you don't. So
It
let's-
hurts me to hear that.
yeah, it's it hurts me to watch as well because you almost have it. But okay, so my initial build is different, but that's. We'll have a look at this the mid game really, because I mean we've talked about the early game, right?
Yeah.
You have to not lose those initial Marines.
SCV ready.
Yeah, so yeah, let's not look too much at this.
SCV ready.
Command center upgrade.
Do you think I should practice micro using playing games or using a micro trainer? Like,
Use the Marine splitting trainer. That's great.
SCV ready.
You're bunch of
oh,
them.
that's reactionary though.
SCV ready.
Yeah, but if you can learn that, it's great.
Command center
Well,
I mean,
probably.
pre-splitting, you don't have to practice pre-splitting. Like,
I have
no-
to practice the habit of pre-splitting.
yeah, but that's something like
Yeah.
that you'll just
That's-
develop that over time. I mean, it's not really a skill to pre-split. You just do it. It's just remembering doing it and realizing when to push forward and when to not. Because you were a bit conservative there. Because when a Zerg sees you, right? So let's have a quick talk about the Zerg economy and how it works. So I've talked about this in all my coaching sessions, but I'm gonna do it again because I think it's a really important concept that people don't grasp. So
That's when I
Zerg-
attack that they don't build drones.
no, so yes, exactly. So the Zerg, all of their production comes from their larva, right? This is fundamentally different from Protoss and Terran. When a Terran makes workers and attacking units throughout the whole game, pretty much up to 75, 80 workers, right? After that, it's you don't make any more workers. But let's push that aside for the moment and talk about the early and mid game. So the Zerg can either make attacking units or drones. They can't make both at the same time. So when the Zerg don't feel under threat, they'll just make drones, and they will make drones and expand at a rate you can't keep up with because that's how Zerg work. But as soon as you put pressure on, you force them to make units, which effectively is killing drones, right? Because every attacking unit they make is not a drone, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So you
Totally.
have to put pressure and make them feel not safe. Because when you were outside there, I was like, oh shit, I have to make units. But then I was like, okay, well now I've made enough units. I'm gonna go back to droning because I've seen your force and I know I have enough to stop it if you ever push in. So you have to be decisive when you push, but not too decisive. I mean, you can't give them minutes to build up like you did. But you should try to clear creep and gain some ground, but not sit back. Like you sat behind that bush for I think 2 or 3 minutes. That's way too much. You have to either try to make headway or go back, right? You have maybe half a minute, but then you have to go back because then the next wave of links is gonna be out.
Ready to raise some hell.
So that's.
SCV ready.
But I mean, you do put pressure, but it feels like I don't know how to put it. Like it's really hard to put like.
Bad pressure.
Yeah, like it was really apparent playing versus you. I didn't really ever feel under any sort of threat. Like I always felt like I had the game under control. And you
So
really,
did I.
yeah. So you really want to make the Zerg feel unsafe. Okay, so I botched the early game pretty much, pretty heavily. Like I lose
SCV ready.
a bunch of Hellions. This build is crazy, by the way. Just gonna say,
Go, go, go. SCV ready.
Ready for
Crazy good or crazy bad?
crazy good.
SCV ready.
Look at this. I lost a few Hellions. I shouldn't lose those Hellions. Look at how much damage I do.
Ready for dust off.
It's actually insane. It's actually insane how good it is. And that wasn't even a very good. That wasn't even very well executed.
Is it the
But that wasn't the
1-1-1
thing we were gonna
widows?
look at. I just think it's fun to look at that build because it's ridiculous. But yeah, let's look at the mid game. Let's look at the difference between my mid game and your mid game. So my macro here is pretty bad. Right. Getting my
What
double
is your
eBay.
third command center doing there?
Just completing
Like,
the
why,
wall.
why do you build there instead of the mirror line?
Add-on.
More safe. I didn't really have any units, so if I were to build it on location and he were to attack it, there would be no way for me to defend it.
Add-on.
We're returning fire.
Yeah. So here is one difference. I do some harassing,
Research complete.
right?
Add-on.
You do not. So that's the first difference.
Mineral field completed. Additional supply.
Now this comes from me being like a mechanically better player than you, probably. Me being able to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, probably.
But let's have a look at the actual, because my macro is pretty sloppy here, honestly. Banish a mineral from the bank. Some supply blocks.
Dust off.
See, hit here. Boom. See, it doesn't work. So I pull back.
Mineral field
Hit here at
completed.
the same time.
Add-on complete.
Right, see, it doesn't work. Pull back. But even like that scares the living shit out of Sarg when they're when they feel like they're always out of position. You will force mistakes out of them, even if you don't do any direct damage. That's where the
Mineral field completed. Additional supply depots required.
I'm like, well, join up with the rest of my forces. So let's have a look at this, because here's where you botch up, right?
But
So
I would have lost the battle.
yeah, you would lost this army, right? So let's see what I do differently. So I move forwards, clear creep. Slowly push my tanks forward, right?
Required.
Well, I split, and you don't. That's a big one. Yeah, so I
And
take
you pull your tanks afterwards.
yeah. You need to always like move your tanks forward. Right. Pushing it. And, like here, I'm probably gonna move back now. Yeah, see, I can't go in there, so don't feel bad about scanning. Like you always want to gauge where the army is, because you never did this to me. You never scanned my army to see how big it was. I see I can't beat that with what I have, so I'm just gonna go back. I took a third base. Or a fourth. I think that was the fourth. But anyway, like I took a base. I feel pretty good, so I'm gonna go back.
Mineral field depleted.
So I see this.
Mineral field depleted.
So that was pretty bad by him, because he had lurkers, right? So that was, well, we're not gonna talk about him. We're talking about me.
Mineral
Yeah,
field
so
depleted.
here, down the fourth.
Mineral field depleted.
Yeah, so I'm trying to hit from different locations as well. Like you did this as well, which is pretty good. Clearing creep. Yeah, see, scanning. This is the thing you didn't do, right? There's a ramp here, so I want to scan up here. There could be like 20 Baneling waiting for me up there. In that case, I want to know. That's again pretty.
Mineral field depleted. Upgrade
The Vipers didn't even do a thing. Oh my god.
mineral field.
I'm stimming like a man. Yeah, but I'm hitting. I'm like constantly in his face, right? I don't think I left him alone for a minute in this game, honestly. First it was the first Reaper coming out, then the 4 Hellions with the Reaper, then the Hellbat push, then the 2 Liberators, then the Hellbat drop, then the double drop plus the drop at the top, right? You see, I'm always like, and then the push, then I pull back, then another push, right?
Western Gaza exhausted.
And all in all, like except for the initial Hellbelt push, like I didn't do much damage with any of those things, right? So you would think like I wouldn't be in as good of a position as I am. Like I've won this game now, pretty much. Like yeah, he has ultras, but his economy is like non-existent. No. So I figure I can just kill his ultra with my tanks at this point.
Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply.
It's about to get heavy. Who wants some?
Yeah, there we go. So really, it's just the small things with you, but all those small things really add up.
Mineral
I
field
see.
depleted.
Who wants some?
Yeah, and here, yeah, I've already won at this point. Boom. Okay. So, I mean, doing the multi-prong harass throughout all of the game is really hard to do. It takes, like, that's just a mechanical thing. Like, maybe you won't be able to do that. But you see, like, my pushes were much more decisive than yours were.
Yeah, totally saw that.
Yeah, but yet I did this thing where I sent a few units forward and sniped something, then went back and moved my tanks forward, right? There's still a method to my pushes. I don't just YOLO in there, right? There's a method to it, but I still do it pretty quickly. So that's the sort of thing you want to get down. So, do you maybe, yeah. So I could send you this replay so you can analyze the engagement a bit more on your own. Just look at the small things I do, because I really think it is the small things, because your macro is okay, it's obviously not perfect, but so it's not, mine's not perfect either, so your macro is good, your upgrades are really good, right? You don't take your bases too late, like nothing like this, like nothing on that I can really point to and say that's where you lost the game. It is these engagements that you're taking, right, in the mid game. You really want to make sure you get some damage done in the mid game, and you usually don't, from what I've seen. So that's really what you want to work on: harassment and taking the engagements correctly, especially the engagement, right? So maybe practice splitting a bit on a marine splitting map or something, just to get.
Right.
If you just search marine splitting in the arcade,
Yeah.
you'll find.
I think I already got that
Yeah.
bookmarked even.
So you can just find some map and practice that, because it is good practice. But when you do this, try to keep up the things you already do well, so you don't sacrifice your macro for your micro, right? If you can, and that's what's gonna make you a really well-rounded player, because macro is really the most important part. But I feel like there's not much I can tell you there that you don't already know. Like there was a few things, right? You could have had a few more barracks in the end. You could like these small things, but yeah, so it was really.
Like I don't even count my barracks. I just built them.
Yeah, no, I don't
Like,
really count
yeah.
them either, but you sort of feel like when you have to a few, so maybe go up to 9 barracks or 8 in the late game, right?
What about factories and starports?
That depends on the situation, right? So I usually in the current TVC meta go up to 2 factories, so I can do double tank. Because I find banelings to, sorry, not banelings, widow mine to be really bad currently. So double tank usually, and then if I come into the late game with sort of equal economy to the Zerg, I then add on Liberators, lots of them. So then I usually go 2 starport, so I can add Liberators. But I usually don't want to get to that point, right? I usually want to kill him before that, like I did that game. Like he got ultras, but he was already dead, right?
Right.
He was only on 2 base, so that's usually the timing I'm trying to hit. So, is there any more questions around like the engagement? I feel like it's already subtle. Like I don't know what to exactly hit on there.
I don't have any question in particular, to be honest. Like what you just said with the splitting and taking engagements with more thought behind it and retreating and not sacrificing everything.
Yeah.
Sounds like that should be the thing I should work on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's So you should So that's basically the things I can see. I mean, there's always like small things with macro and all this stuff like that you can always work on. But that's the big things. I think that's what's losing you these games because this was the weirdest coaching session I've had yet. Usually it just comes down to, well, your macro was bad, you lost. But this is one of the first ones where I'm like, no, actually, your upgrades are amazing. And you're hitting this like 150 supply timing that should be really strong, yet you still lose. So, so that was pretty weird for me. But so I'm really not used to talking about engagement in this way.
Would that help me with the other matchups as well?
I
Like,
mean,
because of Zerx has the Baneling problem with the splits, but against, I don't know, Protoss or Return Army splits don't seem that effective, I think.
well, like the specifics are very different when you're microing versus a Protoss army or a Zerg army, but some of the principles stay the same. So you still want to have a plan. You still want to scan and see their army before you engage. You want to gauge if you have a shot in this engagement or not. And if you don't want to take that engagement. So use your scans, your Terran. Use your scans. You want to know. Like that's usually why Zerg usually sends a Zergling or two ahead to see what the opponent's army is like. A Protoss usually adds an observer or they tag your army with your army with an oracle to see. So really use those scans because you usually know about where his army is, and then you just scan. You see what type of army he has. If you can't take the engagement, retreat. If you think you can, you try to see where is the best place for this engagement and try to force the engagement there, right? But yeah, the general principles stay the same. You want to know, you want to size up his army and get as good as an engagement as you can. But obviously the specifics are going to be different, right? You're not going to have to split as well, and your unit comp is probably going to be different as well. Like, I wouldn't advise going tanks versus Protoss, right? Unless you're doing
What would you do instead?
mines.
Mines?
Yes. Exclusively mines, actually. That's the
So
only...
like, no tech lab on the first
No.
factory?
No. Just mines.
Huh.
I usually make a cyclone or two, but after that, the only thing the factory makes is mines. Right, Marine, Marauder, Mine, Medevac, and then Liberators later on in the game. Right? That's the thing. That also has a specific rhythm to it, like engaging Protoss Legion with Liberators and stuff. But that's very different. We're not gonna get into that now. This was the sort of TBC session, so.
Yeah, sure.
I think we're about done there for this session. We can do another one later if you want to.
Oh, that would be great.
We could either focus on something different, or we could you could work on this and we could revisit it.
Honestly, I feel like something different would be better, like getting better overall, not getting good at just TBC. Feel me?
Well, I mean, you're platinum, right? So
Yeah.
you are starting to get to that point where we have to work on more specific things, especially since your macro is already pretty good. So I don't really know. I mean, if there are many general things I could say. I mean these things we have talked about, like engagement, they hold true for every matchup, right? TVT as well. I mean, in TVT's engagements are very important, right? Marine tank engagement, right?
Yeah.
But
stupid tanks.
yeah, that takes a while to get used to. I was terrible at it for like a year. Well, just like ran my Marines into tanks and wondered why I lost. So that's another thing. But yeah, we're not gonna get into that too much. But yeah, so have a think about what you might want to do for next time. And we might do a quick follow up on this. I'll ask you how it's been going. If you still have a question or two at that point, we can address them and then move on to another topic. If that sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we wrap it up about there.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone who's been watching on YouTube and stuff. And
Thank you for coaching me.
yeah, no problem.
Taking
Man.
your time.
No, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy talking about this game. It's fun. So,
That's right.
I also want to say, anyone who want to be coached, I have my mail down below. If you want to send me a mail, get coached. Terrans only. for now. I might coach other races, but I'm so terrible at them. I feel bad. So only Terran for now, and maybe low. I'll accept low diamonds as well, but low diamonds and below, even if you're totally new, that's fine too. And we'll see you next time. And good luck on your TBC practice.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.